Eddie Guerrero's death is one of the saddest moments in professional wrestling history, and SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 might have accidentally predicted it. In the season mode, there's a storyline where Eddie Guerrero basically takes the Undertaker's urn and controls him for his benefits. To end the storyline, Undertaker chokeslams Eddie into a casket during a buried alive match, and the scene ends with the commentator saying, "Looks like it's ashes to ashes for Latino Heat." The game was in development during the year of 2005, which means someone on the staff accidentally predicted that Eddie would pass away. To make things even creepier, the game was released on November 11th, which was just 2 days before Eddie Guerrero died. It's a creepy and eerie coincidence. It gets even creepier because something similar happened with Chris Benoit's death and the video game series. The following year, SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 was released on November 10th in 2006. Just like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit was involved in a storyline with The Undertaker, and during one of the cutscenes of the story, we would see this promo between the two.
"I'm sick of you ducking me, Undertaker. You know I'm the most dominant superstar in SmackDown, and you know you can't prove me wrong."
You think I'm afraid of you, little man? I can't count the number of superstars who have tested themselves against the dead man and come up short. If you insist on making this mistake, then your grieving family will have no one to blame but you when the inevitable occurs.
The last line in that promo is really bone-chilling, considering that the Chris Benoit tragedy would occur 8 months later after the game was released. There's no way that the game developers THQ could have seen that coming, but it's still very terrifying to listen to The Undertaker's creepy sentence about Benoit's grieving family. The fact that it happened in 2 consecutive years with Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit is very scary stuff. The Undertaker's promo on Chris Benoit in the video game was pretty weird, but what's even stranger is when Chris Benoit cut a backstage promo in 2004. During the segment, he speaks about his family not watching Raw because he was going to do something unthinkable.
"My wife and my children will not be watching Raw because I am going to do something that is unthinkable."
While he was clearly talking about beating his opponents in his match, it doesn't take away from the fact that there's some creepy vibes in this promo considering what happened in 2007. In 2021, Roman Reigns finally turned heel at SummerSlam. It would lead to one of the best championship reigns of all time that lasted for 1,316 days. He was truly living up to his nickname of being the head of the table. And Roman Reigns actually predicted this would happen 7 years earlier. In 2014, Roman Reigns was talking about how he was going to become the head of the table when he won the WWE Championship in a ladder match at Money in the Bank.
"And when I win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, I take my rightful place at the head of the table."
John Cena went on to win the championship match, so Roman Reigns was wrong in that sense. But his prediction did come true 7 years later when he defeated Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman to win the WWE Championship. Shortly after this, Roman Reigns became the head of the table. Not only was Mr. Perfect perfect in that ring, but he was also perfect with his predictions. Before Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar joined the main roster, he went on the record to say that they had a bright future ahead of themselves and were going to be big names in the WWE. When asked about this in the interview, this is what he said about the two.
You had made a mention already about Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
But you also had a couple of the other guys, and I believe was it Randy Orton? That's also.
He's an up-and-coming kid. He's a big kid. He's 6'5". He's 250 pounds already. He's just 21 years old, and he's a third-generation actually wrestler. His grandfather and his dad, Bob Orton Jr.
Okay, that's right.
And you know, there's always something special about a second-generation wrestler. I don't know what, but there's something. And
perfection.
So he's going to be a great one. Yeah, he's going to be a great one. Randy Orton, Lesnar. They're the two names that are going to push right to the top.
It's safe to say that Mr. Perfect was spot on with this prediction. Brock Lesnar would go on to become one of the most decorated wrestlers of all time, winning multiple WWE championships and also defeating The Undertaker's iconic streak. As for Randy Orton, he's been at the top of the mountain for the last 25 years, and he plans on doing it for another decade. Speaking of Randy Orton, he also predicted the future when it came to his career. On an episode of Raw in 2005, he was involved in a segment with Vince McMahon, and in that promo, he told McMahon that he was going to be the man that was going to carry this company for the next 15 years. He also said that he was going to make more money for the WWE than John Cena and Batista.
"I'm the man man that's going to carry this company for the next 15 years. I'm the man, Vince, that's going to make more money for you than John Cena or Batista combined.
At the time, John Cena and Batista were the WWE's biggest superstars, but Randy was right because 15 years later in 2020, he was Raw's top star and even won the WWE Championship while both John Cena and Batista were off in Hollywood making movies. Staying on the topic of Randy Orton, SmackDown vs. Raw predicted his future with his faction, Legacy. The group formed in 2008 when the second generation wrestlers came together and wanted to take over the WWE. In SVR 2010's Road to WrestleMania, there was a storyline that would lead to the downfall of the group, and eventually the three had a triple threat match at WrestleMania in the video game. 5 months after the release of the game, the match actually took place in real life at WrestleMania 26. I'm starting to think that THQ is basically the Simpsons of the WWE, or if not that, then the creative team was definitely stealing ideas from the video game. Stone Cold Steve Austin might go down as the most important wrestler of all time. Without him, there's a good chance WWE would have lost to WCW during the Monday Night War. However, Austin's rise to the top carried the company into new heights. The business was booming because of Stone Cold Steve Austin, and there was one man who predicted it many years before it even happened. The brilliant mind of Paul Heyman called it in 1992 during a radio interview. He predicted that Stone Cold would become the #1 guy in the business.
As far as the future of wrestling goes, there is not a better prospect. There is not a better person. There is not a better man. There is not a better franchise out there today than stunning Steve Austin, the world's television champion, the best wrestler on TV today. So Steve, who's going to be the man to carry wrestling into the year 2000, I have Steve within the organization.
Steve Austin's second year in the business finished number 8 in Wrestler of the Year. I mean, that's just not done very often.
You know, 6 weeks ago I made the comment to the New York Daily News that Steve Austin has improved more in 2 months than I've seen any athlete improve over the course of 2 years. And if I look at a tape of Steve Austin 6 weeks ago, it's like he's a totally different person, because in the past 6 weeks he has quintupled his abilities. The man progresses so fast, it is scary. I mean, he is right now world championship material. I mean, it's obvious this guy is on such a roll. This guy is so talented. This guy is so phenomenally hot right now that in another year, what this guy can ascend to is scary.
It's safe to say that Heyman was spot on. Stone Cold did become the biggest star of wrestling by the end of the 90s. He was winning world championships, making billions of dollars from his shirt, and pulling in tens of millions of viewers on a weekly basis. I guess Paul Heyman isn't lying when he says that he doesn't give you predictions, but instead he gives you spoilers. CM Punk's iconic pipe bomb will forever go down as one of the greatest unscripted moments in professional wrestling history. The moment turned Punk into a superstar overnight. And what's even more interesting is the fact that he predicted the future during that promo. One of his lines was about how WWE would be better off with Vince McMahon being dead.
And I'd like to think that maybe this company will be better after Vince McMahon's dead.
10 years later, and CM Punk was right. While he's still alive, Vince McMahon did have to step away from the WWE due to a lawsuit, and Triple H did take over. Many fans have been loving the product ever since Hunter took over. Booking is better, storylines are more interesting, and we've seen the business flourishing financially. It's gotten so much better that CM Punk even returned and has been thriving with the new management. Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage accidentally predicted one of America's most tragic events. In the late 80s, these two teamed up together to form the Mega Powers. The duo were considered one of the greatest tag teams of all time with a ton of star power. In 1989, they entered a feud with Hakeem and Big Boss Man, who referred to themselves as the Twin Towers. During a promo when talking about their upcoming match, Hulk Hogan said that the Mega Powers are going to tear down the Twin Towers.
It's the love, man, that's gonna supercharge the Mega Powers and tear down the Twin Towers.
If that's not creepy enough, Macho Man followed it up by saying that they weren't going to stop until the Twin Towers came crumbling down.
And Hulk Hogan, that pain won't stop until the Twin Towers come crumbling down.
That's exactly what happened to the Twin Towers 12 years later on September 11, 2001. This is clearly a coincidence, but it's still creepy nonetheless. Drew McIntyre made his WWE debut in October of 2007. 2007. For the first 2 years of his career, he was not finding any success. He wasn't thriving at all. Therefore, Vince McMahon attempted to turn him into a star by putting him over. On an episode of SmackDown in 2009, he reintroduced Drew McIntyre, but this time he said he was going to be a future world champion.
This man, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a future world heavyweight champion.
That would lead to the two shaking hands, while he got the nickname of being the Chosen One. It seemed like McMahon's prediction was coming true because McIntyre would win the IC Championship, but despite that, he was still failing afterwards and he was not clicking with the audience. Then he was involved in a jobber faction known as 3MB. Eventually, he even got fired from the WWE because they did not see value in him. We wouldn't see Vince McMahon's prediction come true until 11 years later when Drew McIntyre defeated Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania to become the WWE Champion, and since then, he's actually gone on to win 2 more World Championships. Sometimes predictions need some time to come true. Vince McMahon isn't the only one who successfully predicted Drew McIntyre's future. The Miz also did in 2009. In fact, it wasn't only about Drew McIntyre, but it was also about Sheamus and himself. In this Survivor Series interview, The Miz predicted that these three had greatness and they would revolutionize the industry.
Josh, what you witnessed tonight is a little taste of the greatness the three of us are destined for.
He was right, because Sheamus would win his first of many WWE Championships a month after this, and then The Miz would cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase to become the WWE Champion a year later, and Drew McIntyre would become a 3-time World Champion. That is indeed greatness that was predicted by The Miz. The next prediction is a really sad one. In 2018, Samoa Joe got into a feud with Jeff Hardy. To make the rivalry a little bit more intense, Joe brought up Hardy's dark past with his substance abuse as well as arrests.
Is people like you never change, and the demons, they never go away, and we both know there will be a next time.
Unfortunately, Samoa Joe's prediction was correct. Jeff Hardy was arrested in 2022 for a DUI. This is why it's very controversial to take real-life issues and make them a part of wrestling storylines. But the good news is that things are looking bright as of now. Matt Hardy even said that Jeff's been on the right track for some time now and is doing better than ever before. Hopefully, Samoa Joe's prediction does not come true again. We've got another sad prediction. This time, it's from Roddy Piper, and it's about himself. To give some context, we need to talk about the harsh reality of being a professional wrestler and what happens after they retire from in-ring competition. Because of the expenses that go into the maintenance of being a WWE superstar, many wrestlers have a difficult time with their life after wrestling. More specifically, they struggle financially. They changed a bit in today's world because of social media, but the same cannot be said about the legends in the business from the past. And so Roddy Piper was talking about his pension in an interview with HBO. He was sadly talking about how he was never going to see that money because he predicted that he was not going to make it past 65 years old due to substance abuse as well as a physical toll on his body from pro wrestling.
When my pension plan I can't take out till I'm 65, I'm not gonna make 65. Let's just face facts, guys.
Roddy Piper was right and accurately predicted his death. He did not make it to 65 years old. The legend would die at 61 years old, and I wish this prediction did not come true. The Ultimate Warrior is another wrestler who sort of predicted his own death as well. In the early 90s, Hogan's time as the face of the WWE was coming to an end. Therefore, McMahon needed to find his next big superstar, and the Ultimate Warrior was that man. However, that turned out to be a big mistake. The Warrior had many backstage issues with the boss. It got so bad that Warrior almost no-showed 1991 SummerSlam because he wanted more money. This would have left the fans without a main event, which would have been crazy. So McMahon had nothing to do but pay up, but the relationship was forever ruined. Because of all this, it seemed like he was never going to come back to WWE, but as they say never. The Ultimate Warrior did indeed come back to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, but the weird part happened on the Raw after WrestleMania 30, where Warrior would cut an eerie promo that sounded like he knew he was not going to be alive for much longer. This promo included these lines: "Every man's heart one day beats its final beat. His lungs breathe a final breath. His spirit will be immortalized, and the spirit of the Ultimate Warrior will run forever."
Every man's heart one day beats its final beat, and the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
The part that makes this promo very strange is the fact that Ultimate Warrior would pass away the very next day due to a heart attack. The timing of this promo and his death will forever be one of the creepiest moments in wrestling history, one of the creepiest predictions. The WWE introduced NXT in 2010. The original version of NXT was essentially a game show with contestants being eliminated each week. By the end of the season, we would have a winner that would sign a WWE contract. It was a cool concept, honestly. In that first season, we saw Daniel Bryan, who was eliminated and did not win the contest. However, before leaving, he would cut a promo where he was talking about the company politics and how Vince McMahon was obsessed with big, sweaty men, regardless of their ability to connect with the WWE universe.
I heard about the politics here, about how Vince McMahon loves big guys, and they like the guys that they make themselves, regardless of whether or not those people can come out here and engage the WWE universe.
Daniel Bryan's prediction came true because WWE handpicked Roman Reigns to become the next face of the WWE, as John Cena's time was clearly coming to an end. Both men, Johnson and Roman Reigns, failed to connect with the audience, and for many years people rejected the idea of these big muscular men. Instead, they cheered smaller wrestlers like CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and Zack Ryder. Those are the guys who actually clicked with the audience. Despite this, they had less success than the bigger guys. For the majority of his life, and more specifically during the first run with the WWE, Cody Rhodes kept his natural hair. He was a brunette. However, that would change in the year of 2017 when he debuted his blonde look at Ring of Honor's Final Battle. Cody Rhodes probably took inspiration from his two favorite wrestlers of all time, Hulk Hogan and Sting. With that said, there was one person who predicted this to happen. It was Shelton Benjamin in 2007 during a backstage promo between these two. He said that he was going to whoop Cody so bad that he was going to turn him blonde.
And after I'm done spanking you, you can dye your hair blonde. That way you can be thinner, less attractive.
Benjamin's prediction came true 10 years later, and it's been Cody's signature look ever since. The Fiend is the most unique character in wrestling history. The idea of Bray Wyatt created an unstoppable alter ego monster to destroy all of his past rivals who did him wrong was a genius concept. But did you know that he actually foreshadowed this version of himself in a YouTube video that was published in the year of 2015? The video is titled Bray Wyatt and the Man in the Woods Superstar Ghost Stories. And in this video, he tells a story about an encounter he had with a man in the woods. Wyatt goes on to basically describe this man's physical characteristics. He says that he was pale with no skin pigment, he was walking upright, he had thin yellow hair going down to his knees, and this man had yellow eyes. All of this pretty much describes the Fiend. Bray Wyatt then describes that this man had his slingshot. When he goes to tell Sister Abigail about it, she reveals that he has a slingshot because Bray Wyatt is actually the man in the woods. You see, Bray Wyatt predicted that this version of himself would come out later on, and it did 4 years after this video was released. Bray Wyatt was truly a creative mastermind. We have another successful THQ prediction from the SmackDown vs. Raw series. In SVR 2006, there was a storyline where RVD had the WWE Championship and he spray painted ECW over it. To make this prediction even more precise, he says that ECW was back and they were taking over SmackDown.
Teddy, dude, welcome back, man. Too bad it took you so long, though. Yeah, there's been a few changes around here. It's time to let you and all these fans know that as of now, ECW is back, and we're taking over SmackDown.
ECW? The ECW organization went under years ago, after so many of its top superstars left for WCW and the WWE. And now you're saying ECW is back? You're pulling my leg, player.
Come on, Teddy. Look at me. Take a look at this title. Does it look like I'm pulling your leg?
Although they did not take over SmackDown, ECW would return 1 year later when WWE tried to revive the brand. Vince McMahon did everything in his power to make ECW succeed under the WWE umbrella. This included bringing back hardcore legends and even sending WWE superstars like Kurt Angle, The Big Show, and Chris Benoit. With all that said, it failed and was canceled in the year of 2010, but it's still pretty cool to see that the video game predicted it 1 year before it actually happened. There's one more SmackDown vs. Raw prediction that came true in this video. In SVR 2007 season mode, there was a storyline where Triple H gained power, but to make things even weirder, he said that he was going to do what was right for business.
You are looking at the new general manager of Raw. I've decided to sacrifice my in-ring career for a little while in order to give Raw the leadership and direction it needs. Now I know that decision's going to disappoint a lot of you, but it's what's right for business, and I always do what's right for business.
And 7 years later, after the game was released, we would see the Authority make their debut after Triple H screwed Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam, helping Randy Orton become the WWE Champion. And then Triple H would cut promos talking about how he would do things that were best for business.
It's not about my personal feelings, it's about what's best for business.
SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 gave us a preview of what was to come. That wasn't the only time that WWE predicted we would get the Authority. It also happened in 1999. Triple H was involved in a feud with Vince McMahon, and in their match, Vince wanted Stephanie to strike Hunter with the sledgehammer for everything that he put the family through. It turned out that she was secretly working with Triple H the entire time because she turned on her father. We would then see the two dominate the WWE, even referring to this time as the McMahon-Helmsley era. The McMahon-Helmsley era came back 14 years later when we saw the Authority form. They also returned 9 years after that when Triple H took over the WWE creative team. I also want to point out that the storyline predicted that Hunter and Steph would get married. The two started dating a year after the storyline, they got married, they started a family, and they lived happily ever after. In 2001, Shane McMahon shocked his father by announcing that he had written his name on the contract to purchase WCW. This led to a storyline between the two brands that would eventually culminate in a Survivor Series match with the winner controlling the WWE. Although Stephanie and Shane failed to win that match, this would be a foreshadow of what was to come 15 years later. The WWE split the brands and brought back the draft. Stephanie McMahon served as the general manager of Raw, while Shane McMahon got SmackDown. That storyline in 2001 accurately predicted that they would get control of the company eventually. It only took 15 years. Speaking of control, let's talk about D-Generation X. In 2006, Triple H and Shawn Michaels reunited, bringing back DX to WWE. One of their most memorable feuds around this time was with Vince and Shane McMahon. There were a lot of great moments during that rivalry, but the one we need to focus on today is the time that they trolled Vince McMahon by spray painting their logo onto a WWE private jet. At the time, nobody really thought much of it. However, this predicted that DX would take over the WWE, and they did. Triple H is currently booking things on Raw and SmackDown, while Shawn Michaels is running everything going down in NXT. In 2013, the company finally got rid of the WWE Championship spinner belt. The Rock had the honor of introducing the new title. Before he had the chance to do that, Cody Rhodes came out to tell The Rock that he wanted to look at the WWE Championship because that title would be synonymous with Cody Rhodes and not The Rock.
I want to take a look at the title that for the next 13 years will be synonymous with Cody Rhodes.
Cody was correct 11 years later, and he would defeat Roman Reigns to become the WWE Champion. The title is now synonymous with the American Nightmare. When growing up, Austin Theory's hero was John Cena, and that's why he pushed to have a match with him at WrestleMania 39 in Hollywood. On paper, it seemed like a great idea, but in reality, it was a very bad one. There's one person who knew that this should not have happened, and that is John Cena himself. During a promo between the two on Raw, John Cena told Austin Theory that he was not ready to have a match with him.
I said no to save your ass. You're not ready.
To make matters worse, John Cena said that even if Theory won the match, he still would not find success.
And if we have a match at WrestleMania and you win, you lose everything.
I think this promo was a little too real because John Cena was 100% correct. He accurately predicted that this match would hurt Austin Theory's career, and it did. Austin Theory has lost a lot of momentum, and he's been stuck at the bottom of the card. This is why you don't want to feud with this older version of John Cena. He literally just does not care. He will roast you to the point where your career is cooked. CM Punk almost predicted a terrible future for Cody Rhodes. The week before the 2024 Royal Rumble, the two were involved in a segment to talk about the Royal Rumble match as well as WrestleMania 40. CM Punk told Cody Rhodes that he was going to get the Punk experience. He proceeded to tell him that he carried this company for 2 years for no reason, because he was going to lose the main event match to a bigger star, referring to The Rock.
It's a much bigger superstar that hasn't been around in a very long time, coming to take it all away from you.
If you remember, this happened to CM Punk in 2012 when The Rock closed WrestleMania 28 with John Cena. It looked like this was going to happen because Cody Rhodes actually was forced to give up the match to The Rock on SmackDown. Punk's prediction was technically right. However, everything changed because of the WWE Universe. The fans absolutely hated the idea and they rejected it. There was no choice but to change the entire storyline. In the end, the fans would win because we got Cody Rhodes finishing his story, we also got the best version of The Rock, and we're gonna get Roman versus Rock in either 2025 or 2026. The last prediction comes from the great mind of Paul Heyman. During an ECW fan convention in 1995, somebody asked him about the future of WCW, and Paul Heyman accurately predicted the downfall of the company. He was spot on about everything, and let's listen to the wise man from 1995.
Honestly, I think Ted Turner called their bluff, and I think they're going to die. I think Eric Bischoff went in there and went, yeah, you know, Ted, we did 1.9. Yeah, you know, that ECW, they can't do Jim Crockett went out of business, remember? That's the jerk off you bought it from. And, you know, I just had my hair today, Ted, and I can really do some things with the Atlanta Hawks and everything, and, you know, give me a what, Ted? Oh, Vincent a 3.9? Well, he's on Monday Night on National, and we're not. But you know what? Oh, yeah, we can do Monday nights, but you'll never give us Monday nights. Oh, you will. And then you know what happened? He went back to his booking committee, and here's what happened. Hogan sat there and went, who do I beat on Monday night? Kevin sat there and watched, and Ric Flair said, let's turn Alex right heel so I can get laid by 19-year-olds. And not one person sat there and said, holy shit, we're going to get our asses kicked. Except for Bischoff, who's probably right now sitting on his resume to every production studio in California. And if I were him, I'd do it fast. I think they are going to get their asses so royally kicked, they ain't going to know what hit them. And not because they can't go head-to-head with Vince. And not because they can't, if they would pool their resources, they can't give it a good try. And not because if they really wanted to, they couldn't design everything from new graphics things to new announcers to a different format to everything. I think they can. I just think they're too concerned with their own personal business. One guy just wants to beat everybody that's over 6'5". One guy in the committee wants to sit there. One guy wants to sit there and criticize everybody else. And one guy just wants to get laid because he's 46 years old. If they get their shit together, they might have a shot, but they don't. And they never will. Because they're tolerated that way. Bischoff should either go in there and fire everybody, or should fire himself. But that's the only chance they have. I think head-to-head, I think they're going to get massacred. I think they're going to be so royal. They're going to get stomped so bad they don't even know what hit them. I think Ted's going to sit there and go, okay, I gave you your chance. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to keep the WCW name, but it's going to be like the old Georgia Championship Wrestling. He's going to bring Ole Anderson back as the booker. They're going to take a whole bunch of guys out of Jody Hamilton School, and they'll keep Sting or one other guy at over $100,000 a year, and everybody else is going to be working for $75 a night. And they'll do a couple TV tapings a week, and they'll have Thunder and Lightning as their tag team champions, and they certainly won't give a because they'll be on at 6:05 on Saturday nights for 1 hour, and they'll get a decent little rating for the $10,000 it's going to cost them to produce a show at a local venue in Atlanta when he gives away free tickets. That's what it's going to end up being. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll be a success. I just don't see it.